Research shows that on average, a millionaire will have about 7 streams of income. That's something that's really stuck with me in terms of planning out how I want to save money and make money. It's always been something that's particularly front of mind, with the fact that I'm really, really big on investing, but also that that's not going to be my only avenue of income. The exact same thing with a full-time job, where essentially, yes, it's going to be my main source of income, but it's not the only thing that I'm going to rely on in order to make myself money. And I think case in point is that I've been investing for a really long time now. And for example, my ISA alone, I've grown it from 0 to essentially £70,000 now. And that really wouldn't have been possible without the stock market and investing, because about 15,000 of that has come from purely interest. So certainly a lot of it I was able to save by working throughout and in between uni with internships, and majority of it through tutoring. But of course, that's an additional £15,000 I've generated in interest alone through investing, which I wouldn't have been able to have if I hadn't invested the money in the first place. So I think that's really important to point out. So essentially, if I'm looking at building different sources of income, I'd say obviously job is one of them. Obviously, with my full-time role, I can still tutor on the weekends. I've been tutoring on the weekends for a long time, and it's something that I've kind of kept around either interning or studying. So essentially, I think studying my master's right now is what's going to be replacing my full-time employment. But tutoring, I would consider sort of secondary to that, as a part-time job that I can keep on the side and keep as a second source of income. And given that it's quite good hourly rate, I think that certainly in terms of the transaction I'm getting time for money, it's quite well worth it for me to keep it up, at least for now, until my salary takes over. I think I'll keep up with that even when I have my full-time job. And my second, obviously, tutoring. If I then look to my third, I've only seen people categorise this as income. Having a high yield savings account, just a little way to generate a little bit more money. For me, honestly, it hasn't really generated much at all. Also because I keep it more as a savings account and I don't tend to have that much cash in my bank account and invest most of my money. But essentially, it is there if I need it. It is another way just to boost my savings that much more. So say that's third. Fourth, I have obviously my investments. So I have the stocks and shares ISA, which in the UK is a tax-free vehicle that the government gives you to invest. That's what's essentially generated most of my money at the moment. And I'd say that's my fourth stream. Obviously, including that is my SIP, which is a pension. So most of my money, I'd say 90% of what's in my stocks and shares ISA has gone into investments account. I also have a SIP, which is also a tax-free scheme, but it's a pension fund that I can't access in time of pension age. That's the other bucket, and I want to work towards a place where I'm maxing out the £20,000 allowance each year, and I'm not currently there yet. So if once I do that, I will then move into other investing streams, but because I have to pay capital gains tax on regular accounts, I don't want to do that until I'm able to max out my ISA allowance. Fifth would be odd jobs. For me, that's things like market research, doing psychology studies at university. The other thing I've done has been writing articles, freelance work, an odd job here and there. I've done a longer week-long brand study that paid me about £500. Currently it's a smaller bucket that I'm hoping to build out a little bit more. So essentially that would bring me to 5, which I think is a pretty good place to be. I obviously want to build out a 6th and a 7th, and I'm working towards that, using social media as one of them. Potentially seeing if there's another bucket that I can go with. For now, I'm currently at 5. I hope that was helpful. Hope you took away something useful there. If you have any questions on any of the above, let me know. Best of luck building out your extra sources of income.